to another section here on this course on Python. In this tutorial, we are going to be covering the section overview of what we are going to be covering in this section. So in this section, basically, we are going to be covering 5 very important topics that are basically going to be related to databases. So the first topic which we are going to start on from is about creation of models, that how we are going to create models in Python. Now, in the previous tutorials, you might have been noting that we have been creating models, but this time the models we are going to be creating are to be for the databases, and this time when we create a model, it is going to create a model in the database as well. So this is going to be a very interesting part of this tutorial. Now, in the second part, we are going to see what is migrations and then what is remigrations. Now, migrations basically means to transfer data from the Python code to the database. So when you are left with some kind of, let's say, attribute or some entity and you haven't migrated it, so you can do the remigration thing and you can transfer it later. So how this is done is also going to be a part of this section. In the next part of this section, we are going to see what is admin panel, and admin panel is basically where we can have the privilege to add destinations, and you may say like we can send data from the admin panel which will be connected to our local host server, and that will be used to send data to the database, and how this is going to be done is also a part of this section. In the fourth part, we are going to be dealing with the media files, how we are going to deal with them. It is also going to be a part of this section, and it is also a very interesting topic. And the final topic which we are going to be covering at the end of this section is going to how to display database data on our browser window. So whatever we will be sending to the database, at the very end of this section, we will fetch that data from the database and display it on our local host browser server. So it is going to be a very interesting section, as you can see from the list of the topics which we are going to be covering in this section. So I hope you stick on to this section and get all of these. So I guess that's it with this tutorial. In the next tutorial, we are going to start on with model creation. So thank you so much guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next tutorial. Welcome you to the very first tutorial on this section, and in this tutorial we are going to see how to create our models. Now, consider a model to be a sketch, and whatever you sketch in this models.py is basically going to be present in your database. Now we will have a class named as destination, which is going to be a simple class. As you can see over here, we already have our class destination in which we have 6 attributes for now. Now, to give this class some power and make it able to interact with a database, we need to make it a model. So for this, what we are going to do is that we are going to give here some attributes, and we are going to tell that the compiler that this is basically a model class now. So we are going to write in models.model. So basically using this class is now a model. So now what we are going to do is that we don't need this ID anymore over here. We will only be dealing with these 5 attributes. So the first one is name, and what we are going to do over here is basically that this is going to be treated as an object, and this is going to be that model which we are going to be using. So what we are going to write over here is that we are going to write in models dot, and for example, we want this name to be, let's say, a character field. So we are going to write in character field, and we are also going to specify the maximum length as well. Let's say its length is going to be 100. Now, if you are familiar with SQL database, and if you have done any kind of work before in SQL, when you have to write the query, what you do is that you write in the name of the attribute, its type, and then its length. Surely not in this format, but these are basically the attributes you have to address when you are creating your database in SQL using query. Now, as I told you before, that what ORM is going to do for us is that it is going to give us the advantage to not write any kind of SQL query, but to write simple English like words, as you can see over here, and these are basically going to be sent, and the query is going to be automatically generated by the ORM. Now, one more thing you need to know over here is that it don't have to be a colon anymore. It is going to be an equal to sign. Then for the image, what you're going to do is that you're going to write an equal to models dot. Now you might be thinking that what is going to be the data type of this image. Then it is going to be image field, which is also a built-in thing, and you are going to write in upload underscore to, and it is going to equal to some folder that is going to be equal to text for now. Alright, so the third thing is the destination message. So it is also going to be models dot. Since it is going to be a line, so we are going to specify it in a text field. Alright, and then we don't need to specify any maximum length for a text field, so we'll just leave it as it. And then we are going to specify the price to be models dot integer field, since the price is going to be in integers. And we will not specify the brackets over here. Now you might be thinking why I am not specifying the brackets over here, because I want to show you that how remigrations have to be done. Now what we will do is that we will migrate these three and then this offer to the database as a model. And since this is not a proper line because it has got some error in it because the brackets are missing, so that's why this line is not going to be transferred, or you may say migrated, to the database. Then when we will be remigrating things, what we will do is that we will specify brackets over here and then we will migrate it, so that you can understand that what is the difference between migrations and remigrations. Both are basically the very same things, but the only difference is that migrations is done at the very start and remigration is done when some of the fields are left, some kind of entity is left, or you have got some error in any field and that is not migrated. So later on you can correct that error and remigrate that specific entity or a group of entities. So we are going to leave this as it is. We are going to not specify the bracket over here so that it is an error and it cannot be migrated to the database. So we will migrate it when we do our remigrations. Alright, so we are going to write in for the offers as models dot boolean field, and we will specify a default value for it as well, and the default value is going to be, let's say, false. So for the default value there is not going to be any kind of offer. Alright, we have specified FIELD. Now it seems good. Yep. Alright, so the error has been removed. So now basically we have these 5 kind of things. As you can see that the first is the character field, which contain characters since it is a name. Then we have the image field, which will upload our image. Then we have the text field that will contain the DESC, the destination message. Then we have this integer field, which we have left as an error message. Then we have this boolean field that is going to specify if an offer is given to a destination or not. Now in order to create a table in the database, what you are going to do is that you are going to migrate your models to a database. Now you have a folder here named as migrations. As you can see, for now it only contains an init.py file. So if you don't have this migrations folder, what you can do is that you can easily create it in your application, not in your folder. So what you're going to do is that you're going to right click here. Alright, you're going to go on to new and you are going to create a directory, and the directory is then going to be named as migrations, and there basically you can store your migrations file. Now to migrate all this stuff, a very simple Python command is used, that is python manage.py, and then you have to write in make migration. But if you run this command now, it will generate an error saying that the folder is not found. For that, first you are going to visit your folder, that is not the folder, you have to visit the file, that is settings.py, and you have to add your application over here, because for now this settings.py does not know that calc, like something calc, does exist or not. So what you are going to do is that you are going to go on to installed applications here, which will be somewhere here. Alright, here they are. So here basically you are going to add your application. Now when you add your application over here, so basically then it is going to be treated as an application by the settings.py, which is the file, or you may say the Python file of the my first project, which is the name of the project you are working in now. So simply you are going to specify single colons and you're going to write in the name of the app, that is calc.apps, and then you have to write dot again, and then you have to write in calc config. Alright, that's good enough. Let's just capitalize this C. Alright, good enough. So you have to write in the name of your application, whatever application you have created. If you are following my leads, then you will also have created an app calc. So you're going to write in calc.apps.calc.config. Now one question arises here, that when I put a small c over here, you can see that it is highlighted, which means that this is an error message, and when I capitalizes this C, the error message is removed. Now why it is so? Is this something which has to be the very same as I have written? Yes, the answer is yes. We have to write it as it is. For example, if you go on to the application or the files of your application and open this apps.py and open it, you can see that you have a class that is named as calc config, in which the name is calc over here. So this calc is basically what is going to be written over here. Then this calc config is basically what is going to be written over here, and this apps is basically which file we are referring to. So in the calc application, we are referring to the files named as apps.py, and in that apps.py we are referring to a class that is named as calc config, which you can see right over here. So basically that's how you can just specify and tell your project file that you have an application in which you have that apps.py, and this is how basically you can have your project tell that this is an installed app for now and you have to consider it. Alright, so good enough. Now one more thing you need to do over here before running the make migrations command, or else an error message will be generated. Now if you run the make migrations command, the compiler will tell you itself what you have to do. So let's just run our command and then you are going to see what we have to do over here. So we are going to write in python manage.py make migrations. Good enough. The spelling seems to be perfectly alright. Let's just click enter. And basically it is now fetching the data from the models.py, but you can see that it has generated an error, and it says that module not found error, no module named, calc config, Django type of things. Now what basically is wrong over here is that we don't have one thing which we have to do. So we are going to write in pip install pillow, and that is going to do our job. So it is going to take some time before it installs this pillow into our system. Alright, so you can see over here that it has successfully installed pillow 6.2.1, which may be the latest version. So basically pillow is a fork of the PIL, which is the Python image library, which was started and maintained by the Python contributors. It was based on the PIL code and then evolved to a better, modern and more friendly version of the PIL. It adds supports for opening, manipulating and saving many different image file formats. So this is how this pillow is going to help us out. So let's just now run our python manage.py make migrations command now, because we have got all the prerequisites now. So let's just click enter. Alright, I guess this comma is missing over here, so that's why it is not treating it. As you can see over here that it is also treating this Django with itself. As you can see that calc.app.calc.config Django, it is also treating this Django with it. Now let's just run it again. Click enter. And the next error we have got is about the price, and it says that it is no module named as integer field. So I guess we have to change it as well, and to show you the remigrations I have to do something else. So in this integer field over here we are going to specify brackets, and we have to specify this E over here, I guess, and now I guess it is perfectly fine. So let's just run our python manage.py make migrations command again. And it is going to take some time, and as you can see that it has created a folder. Let me just scroll it up for you. Alright, it says calc migrations 0001 initial.py, which means that this is the initials migration folder, and it says that it has created the model destination. So if you go on to this migrations folder over here, now you can see that you have a Python file over here that is 00001 underscore initial.py, which is the very same file name as mentioned over here, because this is the directory mentioned for this file that has been created. So if you just open this, you can see that you have a lot of things created by Django for you by default. As you can see that it says that they have been created by Django 3.0, and this is the time mentioned over here. Alright, so if you just scroll down a bit, you can see that you have this class migration. And if you just scroll down a bit and see the fields over here, so it says that you have an ID field, you have a name field. Now this is basically an auto field, as you can see over here, because if you just visit models.py over here, you can see that we don't have any kind of ID field over here. So that's why when I was creating this model, I removed the ID field at the very start, because I know that Django is going to create the ID field for me by default. As you can see that it has created this ID field, and as you can see the type of this field to be an auto field, which means that this has been created automatically by Django for you. And if you see the attributes of this is basically the primary key over here is true, which means that this is the primary key to identify any kind of data you enter over here. So this is auto created, which is true, serialize equal to false, and the verbose name equal to ID. Then these are basically the 5 attributes which you have created, starting on from the name. It has the character field, and it is the very same as you have specified there. So this is basically the model that has been created for you by Django. When you run the command python manage.py make migrations, it created a folder for you named as 0001 underscore initial.py, and that initial.py basically contains all kind of migrations which you want to make from the models.py. Now, if you think that you have created a model over here and everything has been created in the database for you, then Django is even not that friendly. So you have to do something for yourself as well. Now, if you just go on to the pgadmin 4 over here, the database we are working is my first project. Where are you? Alright, so here it is. And in the tables, if you just refresh this, you can see that you have got nothing. As you can see that it says error retrieving detail for the node. Alright, I guess the server is not running, so that's why it is generating an error. So let's just run our server first. Manage.py run server. Alright, so our server is now running. So now let's just refresh our tables again. Alright, let's just refresh our browser. So if you now expand your servers, and in the database, that is my first project, if you look at the tables over here, you can see that you still don't have any kind of tables over here. Now you have sent the migrations here, but what you have not sent is the SQL query. Now to generate a table here in the pgadmin 4 using the database we are using, which is PostgreSQL, we need to send in the query so that that query can be used to generate a table over here. So we are going to be using one more command over here. So I will just quit on with the server, and the command is going to be Python. The manage.py file is going to be used, and it is going to be SQL migrate. Now what this means is that the SQL query is going to be migrated to the database. You have to write in the name of the application, which is calc in our case, and you have to write in the migration file you have just created using the previous command, which was this 0001 underscore initial.py. So here calc is basically the name of the app, and this 0001 is the version of the migration which you have to send and for which you have to generate the SQL query. So if you just now run this command is going to take some time. Alright, so it says that C text not null, price integer not null offer. Alright, so it has committed it, which means that the SQL query has now been generated. And finally, you need to run our server before you visit your pgadmin4 page. So run a server. Alright, so it is going to take some time before the server is running. And so our server is now running successfully. All you need to do is that you have to refresh this thing over here again. And if you just scroll it down, you can see that still you don't have any kind of tables available here. So one final thing you need to do over here is that first let's just close our server, and you have to write in the command python manage.py migrate. Click enter, and it is running the migrations, and you can see that it has migrated everything it needs to migrate. As you can see over here, that after this command it has migrated everything is completely okay. And now if you just run your server, alright, so your server is running. So if you now refresh this thing over here, and you can see that you have got a lot of tables over here. Alright, so if you just scroll it over here a bit so you can see them. So the first table is the authorization group table, and it has also a lot of things in here. Then it have the group permission thing, then it have the authorization permission, authorization user groups, then the authorization user permissions. Then you have, if you just leave this for now, Django admin log, then the Django content type, Django migrations, Django sessions, and you can see that all these tables have been created for you by Django itself. Now the only table for which you are responsible over here is this table, that is the calc destination, which you have created yourself. All these rest have been created by Django. The only one you have is this calc destination. So if you just right click on it, and if you just want to show the data of this table, then what you can see over here that if you just open it, you can see that you have a lot of SQL query over here. The first one is ID, which is integer type, and you can see all the things for that as well. Then you have the name, which has a character type varying 100, and a lot of stuff as well. Then you have the image, a lot of stuff with it as well. So all of this query has been generated basically using the SQL migrate command, and it has then been migrated here using the last command which you used, which was python manage.py migrate. So all of these have been migrated right over here. So if you want to see the data which is being stored in this table, for now what you can do is that you can just view added data, and you want to see all the rows, so just click on it. Alright, so it is loading, so it is waiting for now the query to complete, and as you can see that you have this table created in which the first part is of this ID, then you have the second column that is named as name, then you have this image column, then DESC column, then the price column, and then the offer, which is a boolean type, and you can see the types as well that have been mentioned over here, and for those for which you have specified a specific length, they are also mentioned over here. So for now it contains no kind of data. This is because you have not supplied any kind of data. So in the next tutorial, what we are going to do is that we are going to see what are remigrations, and maybe we will also be sending some data to this table we have created right here in our database. So I guess this was a very interesting tutorial, and it is also a bit tricky. So if you didn't understand anything, I guess you go on repeat, and still if you don't understand, then I'll be more than happy to answer your query in the question answer. And I guess for now this is it. Thank you so much guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next tutorial.